As I cover more and more women's basketball, I do know that there is a curve in which I watch. Um, Obviously, if you know me by now, I'm a big fan of Caitlin Clark and what she's done for the WNBA. And I think she's made major moves for the WNBA that has allowed people to see other players who are also very good to great. However, there has been this floating notion that the women's basketball players are just as good as the men, or just as good as college men, or just as good as elite high school boys. And I'm here to let you know that all those notions, in my opinion, are utterly crazy. Welcome back to another edition of Rudy's Rant, where we react to videos that we see on the internet and give our opinions on what we're seeing. So I have a video here by Too Lazy to Hoop. Description will be in the bio. You'll be able to follow that person there. And so go check it out. And also the video is entitled WNBA Champions versus High School Boys. Now, this video is a year old. Um, and I know this was a topic that Clay Travis had an outkick when he bet $1 million, I think it was, what have you, and no one took that bet because they knew the answer. So I'm gonna play the video and then I'm gonna respond to it as we go. So let's check it out here.
I've said this for a long time. It is 100% true. A good state championship caliber high school boys team would smoke the best team in the WNBA.
I mean, you're not wrong.
For many sports fans, what Clay Travis said is nowhere near controversial, as it's an opinion based in sporting reality. But what do you know? Chelsea Gray, a WNBA player who plays for this year's WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces, well, she had a problem with the statement.
I want problems, always.
And responded to Travis by calling him a dumbass. Gray's response to Travis undoubtedly brought more problems to the already problem-riddled WNBA, as Travis doubled down in his response to her by offering to put up
$1 million
in a WNBA versus high school boys basketball showdown. Unsurprisingly, Gray, the Aces, nor the WNBA have responded to Travis's offer, seemingly aware of the reality of what would unfold in such a game. Nonetheless, this has left many sports fans, some that don't even care or watch basketball, very interested and willing to pay to watch this potential face-off. And look, there have been other battle of the sexes in sports before that went, well, as expected, such as a professional men's soccer team from the UK recently destroying a US women's team 12-0.
Jarvis, there it is. Game over. 12-0. Wrexham defeats the US women.
Or a few years back when the US women's national soccer team played an under 15 boys side behind closed doors and lost.
Oh, hold on. You saw the picture of that boy next to the. Let's just move this back a little bit. Look at this high school 15-year-old or 14-year-old, because it's 15U. Look at how big that kid is next to two U.S. women's soccer players. He's a half a foot taller than both of them. He outweighs them both by probably 25 pounds. Easy. Maybe more. Probably more. And this is where the lunacy comes in. This is where the lunacy comes in. Right now, if I pull up for you the ESPN, let's go 247. That's easier. 247 Sports recruiting for basketball. Let's just go look at the top player rankings right now. This is in this country, high school boys basketball players. Chelsea Gray is what, 5'10"? Chelsea Gray. Let's understand. I want you to understand the lunacy here when she calls Clay Travis a dumbass. Chelsea Gray's 5'11". The number one ranked point guard in the country. His name is Darius Acuff Jr. He's 6'2", 180. He's a 99 ranked. Number one player at his position. He's going to Arkansas. Let's look. The next point guard is number 6 in the country, Mikael Brown Jr. He goes to DME Academy in Daytona Beach. He's 6'3", 172. He's going to Louisville. Let's go after that. Let's find the next. Here's a shooting guard, Elijah Arenas. Gilbert Arenas' son is ranked 10th in the country. He's 6'6", 195. He's going to SC. A combo guard, Braden Berries, 6'4", 200. He hasn't announced it. He's going to Eleanor Roosevelt in San Bernardino, California. Number 12, Malik Thomas is a shooting guard, 6'3", 181. He's going to Arkansas also. Braylon Mullins at a Greenfield Central. Number 13, he's 6'5", 180, going to UConn. Here's another shooting guard, Isaiah Harwell. He's 16th ranked, 6'6", 200, going to Houston. Like, I'm going down the list. Jasper Johnson, 20. He's 6'4", goes to Overtime Elite. He's going to Kentucky. Combo guard, Trey McKinney, 21, 6'4", 225. Michigan. A 6'4", 225. I want you to understand that. 6'4", 225. That guard is bigger than Asia Wilson. That guard plays above the rim. He probably puts his entire armpit into the rim. And that's why this lunacy is just what it is. It's craziness. You have guys here, pretty much all of them. There you go, another one. 6'3" point guard going to Houston. Caden Boozer, point guard from Columbus out of Miami, 24th ranked. He's 6'4", 205. He's going to Duke. Caden Boozer's 6'4". He's the same height as Asia Wilson. Can Chelsea Gray guard Caden Boozer or Kingston Flemings or any one of these guys? No. But let's continue with the video.
But in a 1973 tennis match, Billie Jean King did defeat former Wimbledon champion and a very overly confident Bobby Riggs.
Girls play a nice game of tennis for girls, but when they get out there on a court with a man, even a tired old man of 55, they're going to be in big trouble.
The tennis match saw 90 million people worldwide tune in and is still considered one of the most watched televised sporting events of all time. In other words, an exhibition game between a WNBA team and a high school boys state championship team would be a massive marketing and financial opportunity for the WNBA and the players that take part in that game. As if you threw that game on pay-per-view, I really think millions of people would tune in. The game would have too many underlying narratives for it not to draw impressive numbers. You know,
I want to stop that also for a second because they use that Billie Jean King thing as Bobby Riggs. Bobby Riggs is 55 years old. Billie Jean King was 30. Like, what are you talking about? Billie Jean King was 30. She was in the prime of her career against a 55-year-old man. I don't care how good that man was when he was 30, because if he was 30 playing her at 30, he would have wiped the floor with her. The fact that he lost only 6'4", 6'3", 6'3", the day after he had beaten Margaret Court, by the way, who was 31 at the time. So think about that. The day he had beaten her 4 months earlier. He had beaten Margaret Court. It just shows you that Margaret Court, who was one of the world's best players, got wiped. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Like, this is nuts. This is nuts. Serena Williams and Venus Williams played a player who was ranked outside the top 200. And he played them back-to-back for a set and dusted both of them. What are we talking about? Let's continue.
it would draw those purely interested in the spectacle. It would draw people who wish to see two different genders compete against each other. It would draw both the supporter of the WNBA as well as all the haters of the WNBA. And sure, some might argue that the WNBA would never do this as it's a lose-lose situation. Either the WNBA team loses to a high school team and gets ridiculed, or they beat the high school team and aren't given credit for it as they only beat high schoolers. However, there are many possible wins in this for the WNBA. First, taking part in the game would probably earn that 12-woman roster more money in a single game than they might make their entire WNBA career if the game is on pay-per-view. Second, since most basketball fans understand the level of top high school boys, the WNBA team wouldn't even necessarily have to win. Just keeping the game close and competitive would be massively impressive and might increase respect for the league. Remember, before rule changes, players could go straight to the NBA from high school. Think Kobe, LeBron, KG, T-Mac, and we gotta show some love to the Rain Man Sean Kemp. So it's highly likely the WNBA team would be facing off against some players that have the talent to be in the NBA. Thus, a close loss is actually quite respectable. Lastly, this game would undoubtedly be the most watched game WNBA players have ever been a part of. Therefore, it would be the biggest marketing opportunity ever presented to the league. So actually, the only way the WNBA and its team loses in this scenario is if the high school team absolutely obliterates them. This fact makes the WNBA's silence to this challenge deafening, as it reveals they, like everyone else, knows what's up. And that's that they would absolutely get destroyed. Again, this is not meant to be disrespectful, it is just a fact. Let's add some context to this debate by taking a look at the Mount Verde High School.
I love that he used Montverde because Montverde is the option I would have used last year, and they were no. And here's the thing: that was the number one team in the country. Montverde had their guards were bigger than the centers. Their guards were as big as Asia Wilson. Their bigs were 6'10". But I'll let him continue.
Boys team. This is a school, by the way, that boasts alumni such as Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and D'Angelo Russell, just to name a few. Their current roster consists of center Derek Queen, the number 12 prospect in his class, coming in at 6'10", 240 pounds. At power forward, Asa Newell.
Good luck, Asia, guarding that dude. Good luck guarding a 6'10", 240-pound man. I don't care if he's 18 or 17. Good luck guarding him.
The number 13 prospect in his class, coming in at 6'9", 205 pounds.
Who would guard him? Who would guard him? I'm just going to go off of last year's Vegas team. Who was going to guard him? Alicia Clark? I think that's her name. Was she guarding him? Was she 6'3", 6'4", 175 pounds? Good luck. Look where he's playing. His head's at the rim.
At small forward, we have Cooper Flagg, the number 1 prospect in
the guy who will be probably the number 1 pick in the draft next year for the NBA. Yeah, another. So that's their front line: 6'9", 6'9", 6'10", and they all play above the rim. And you think that these WNBA women, because they're older, would have any chance in hell against these guys? Think about the fact that Cooper Flagg, I think when they were doing those workouts with the U.S. men's national team for the Olympics, he was giving him business. Dude is a beast. Like, what are we talking about?
His class at 6'8", basically 200 pounds. Shooting guard, Liam McNeely, the number 15 prospect in his class, 6'7".
Their shooting guard is bigger than your center. Like, what? The shooting guard's bigger than your center.
Almost 200 pounds. Then at point guard, we have the little Rob Wright, only the number 30 prospect in his class, coming in at 6 foot, basically 170 pounds.
So the little guy, the 6 foot guy, is still taller than Chelsea Gray. Still the same height as Jackie Young. Still taller than Kelsey Plum. I'm going off of last year's team. Still taller than all as tall or taller than all 3 guards. Way more athletic, can probably dunk the ball, is way quicker than they are. Like, get out of here.
Come on. If anyone thinks a WNBA team is winning against that high school boys team, in the words of a wise basketball oracle, they are
Delusion.
And if someone...
Oh, and don't forget their backups. Those are the starters. Their backups are just as big. Many just as good.
One wants to make the argument that Mount Verde isn't a state champion as they only compete on a national level and therefore wouldn't qualify to be a team in this situation. Okay, sure, but that's basically a cop-out and is admitting that some high school teams would indeed beat WNBA teams, which is ultimately the point Travis and others are making. And to stress again, that's fine, as males and females are different with different athletic capabilities, which is often reflected in other sports where adjustments are made because of this fact. Let's think of volleyball. But I digress. Let's go ahead and look at another potential matchup for a WNBA squad. A Florida State champion.
That's Christopher Columbus before he even says it. This is Cameron Boozer. That is the number 3 player, number 2 player in the country. I can't find Caden. I'm guessing he's probably back here with the hair. You got the Richardson boys. And this team was last year's team, or 2 years ago's team, when Cam Boozer was a sophomore. On top of that, this year's team for Columbus is better. It's absolutely stacked. But I'll let him continue.
From this past year, the Christopher Columbus basketball team. They boast a starting 5 of Cam Boozer, the second-ranked prospect in his class who comes in at 6'9", 225 pounds. Then Malik Abduhali, who is 6'8" and has committed to play D1 at Princeton. Next up, we got Caden Boozer, who is the 16th prospect in his class who comes in at 6'5". To finish off the lineup, we got Angelo Miranda, who's coming in at 6'4", and Benny Fragella, who's coming in at 6'3". And a little fun fact, the Boozers on this team are the sons of former NBA player Carlos Boozer. But anyway, if we really examine the...
So I'm going to give you some background on this team. This year, their lineup, 6'6", 6'4", 6'5", 6'3", 6'2", 6'6", 6'4", 6'8", 6'10", 6 foot, 5'9", 6'7". They're massive. By the way, this team this year is 25-3. They are number 1 in the country right now. They just won their regional final game against Miami High, who was 22-5, and they beat them by 30. They have wins this year over CIA Bella Vista, Wheeler. They beat Wheeler out of Georgia, out of Atlanta by 32. They beat DME. By the way, you remember I said DME? Rankings of players, they beat that team with a top 6 player by 26. They beat Dynamic Prec by 18, Gonzaga by 6. Well, here's a game that won by 61. Grayson out of Atlanta by 37. IMG by 6. They beat Montverde by 2. Bullis by 26. They also then beat Montverde by 20. Notre Dame by 23. Link Academy by 23. Like, they beat the Apps. They won a playoff game by 50 already. Well, 2 of them by 50. This team is ridiculous. This team would absolutely massacre any team. I'm going to go off of the WNBA champions. You put together any all-star team for the WNBA, these teams would absolutely annihilate them. I went to a playoff game literally a week and a half ago, high school boys. Not even a great, what I would call a great high school boys team. But this team is going to the Final Four in Class 5A, Blanche Ely High School. They had a kid who, when he jumped, his hand went over the backboard. Now, skill-wise, this team is not that good. But athletically, they would absolutely annihilate a WNBA all-star team. I'm telling you, man, you don't have to believe it. These kids today, these high school boys, are freaks athletically. And I'm not saying they couldn't beat some boys' high school teams. But if you gave me the top 500 boys' high school basketball teams, the top 500, including all the prep schools, and there are a lot of prep schools that are nothing but all-star teams. Those are all-star high school teams. They would absolutely slaughter a WNBA all-star team. But let's continue.
matchup between the Las Vegas Aces and this Columbus squad, we'll see the boys would always have the majority of the tallest players on the court, while always having the faster, stronger, higher jumping players in a sport where those attributes intersect and often matter in success. You know, real talk.
Real talk.
Anyone who thinks an undersized, less athletic WNBA team is beating that boy squad is probably on
Crack.
but ultimately, for the majority of sports fans who would die to see this matchup, there's almost no chance we'll ever witness a WNBA team take on a high school boy state champion. Nonetheless, I stand firm in the opinions that it would bring in loads of money for the WNBA if done via pay-per-view, that it would be the biggest marketing opportunity the league has ever had, and that it could actually increase respect for the league if they were able to hold their own. However, if a game like this ever does happen, make the same bet as the UConn women's head coach, Gino Auriemma.
I'm going to go to the ATM and I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to put all my money
on the boys team.
Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time.
Thank you to Too Lazy to Hoop. I will link everything of his in the description. Yes, if you gave me the option of any team in the top 500, I would sell my house and put every dollar I've got on the boys. Every dollar I've got. I'd sell every possession I've got and I would put it on the boys. Everything. Everything. Here's an example. Here's a team called Calvary Christian Academy. They are actually literally 5 minutes from my house. They're in Fort Lauderdale. I live literally 5 minutes from this school. They have a kid on their team. His name is Sean Abayev. He's 6'8". He's 210. Their team right now is 19-1. They are 20-1. They are in the Final Four. Their only loss this year is against Montverde Academy by 7. They got a win over Utah Prep, where AJ DeBansta, the guy who's going to BYU, the number 1 recruit in the country, goes to school. They beat them by 7. They're playing. They beat Arizona Compass by 9. They beat Sagemont by 14, and Sagemont's in the Final Four in another classification. They beat Stranahan by 26. Stranahan's in the Final Four in another classification. These are all Florida schools. They beat. They're playing Cardinal Gibbons in the state semifinals on Friday, I think it is. Cardinal Gibbons is 25-4. I don't think they've played them this. They have not played Cardinal Gibbons this year. It's gonna be a hell of a game. It's gonna be a hell of a game. But this kid Sean Abayev, and there's a couple others, I believe. This kid flies back and forth with his head coach to Georgia every weekend because he plays for OTE, Overtime Elite. If you're not familiar with that, it's basically an all-star boys academy for basketball. So he goes to school at Calvary Christian and flies to Atlanta every weekend to play basketball. This kid's 6'8", 210. He's a freak. Like, this is not a conversation, folks. And it's not to dismiss or disrespect women. There's this certain delusion because there are women who are out here running their mouths about how they would take these boys to the cleaners. Like, there's a reason that there's women's sports and there's men's sports. There's a reason there's so many arguments about what's going on with different things in girls' sports today. There's a reason Sha'Carri Richardson runs in women's sports and doesn't run against the men. Because if Sha'Carri Richardson, for example, ran against the men, she would not qualify for the Olympics, let alone, like, she wouldn't make the finals for the U.S. national team. Heck, I don't know that she get out of the first round. And she's fast as hell. But a 10-6 isn't getting you to the second round in a men's 100-meter U.S. national team trial. The Olympic gold medalists would not have qualified, would not have gotten out of the first round in the Olympics for the men. Like, you're talking about like a 10 to 15 meter gap. Meters, 30 feet. It's not even close. But anyhow, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about this, because I'd love to hear your comments and leave your comments in the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also, of course, go on over to Come On Now, the podcast on YouTube. Subscribe over there, my other channel. I appreciate y'all coming on. This is Rudy's Rant. We talk facts over feelings. See you soon.